Hey everyone, it's Michael Goosebumps fan. I hope you're doing well today. I hope you're having a good weekend if you're watching this on the weekend. I have a Thing Like Goosebumps book review to do today. This is a series that Zach Baby TV had done a video on like 6 months ago where the actual author, Culliver Krantz, sent him like the first 5 or 6 books of this book series. And this book series I'm reviewing, at least the first book of, is Frightvision. This is book number 1, The Cursed Coin. This is a self-published, as far as I can tell, book series that's kind of inspired by Goosebumps. And in a lot of ways, I would say it's heavily inspired by Goosebumps. And each individual book is its own thing. I know recently, like last week, or the week before, The Cursed Coin 2 came out. And it's not book number 2. There's like 7 or 8 or 9 of these things now. I own most of the books. I have the final 2, Cursed Coin 2, and the one about the living backpack. It's coming in the mail now, too. And yeah, living backpack. They have kind of this very Goosebumpsy feel. Like, some of the books are seeming a little bit more serious, some of the books seem a little bit more silly. And I like that. I like that we're having kind of a newer Goosebumps. I know Goosebumps is still being put out. Of course, my whole channel's focused around it. I make news videos based around new Goosebumps news and whatnot. I love the movies, I love the TV show, I love the books, love all that stuff. I'm a big R.L. Stine fan of the Fear Street books, all kinds of stuff. I talk about all kinds of things here on the channel. And the last couple of days, maybe this past week, I wanted to take a little bit of a break from Goosebumps in general and read something different. I'm still doing that currently too. I might even get around to reading Frightvision book 2 before I go back to reading some more Goosebumps, just because I want a little bit of a break. You know, I don't know. I've been reading a lot of Goosebumps here lately. And I know I took a little while to read, took like 2 weeks to read one of the books. I think it was My Hairiest Adventure. But this was a nice little change-up. I actually enjoyed this. To be a self-published thing, it seems like there is an editor behind it, so it's not like a book filled with tons of typos or anything. The writing is very simplistic. There's no like gore or anything like that in there. It is a typical Goosebumps type thing where it's very family-friendly. It's very much a middle-grade book that a kid that's in like elementary school or middle school could read and have fun with. I think it's mostly fine. It's about, I know some of the books have been getting longer. Like after this book, I think the next 2 or 3 books were kind of shorter, like 150 pages or something like that. This one was like 138 pages long, not a very long book at all. And Culliver Krantz, like I said, wrote the book. Now, each book that he puts out for this series is not just him writing. He has actually his name and the author, the actual author's names. I don't know if he's actually writing the books and just getting ideas from other people, or if they're kind of co-writing. I'm not really sure how that works. But there are co-writers for other books in the series. Cursed Coin and Cursed Coin 2 are kind of his Haunted Mask 1 and 2. So it's kind of interesting. I like that aspect to it. I think it's kind of a... I love the cover art, number 1. I don't know who the cover artist is, but I really like the cover art for all of these books so far. Especially this first one with the coin flipping. This story is not, and I'll be honest with you, this is not my favorite book series at this current moment, but it's not bad by any means. I actually really enjoyed this. It takes a little while to get going. I will say that. It's a little bit of a slower burn of a book. To be the first book in the Frightvision series, that's fine and acceptable. I'm cool with that. It's gotta be difficult to try to write middle grade horror and try to write middle grade fantasy and thriller stuff. It's gotta be hard to do that. And I know it's gotta take a little bit of practice to kind of get the pacing down 100% from beginning to end. This one's relatively consistent, but it's kind of a slower read. It might be harder for younger readers to get into the story compared to older readers who read a little bit faster, like myself. Again, 160 pages, not even that, 138 pages, like 140 almost. It's not a very long book. It flies by for the most part. I enjoyed the main characters. I don't remember their names because I'm one of those people. It's not because of the book, it's because of me. I'm just not good with names. I'm not. People will tell me their names all the time in the comment sections of my videos, and I don't mean to be a jerk, but I forget. I have a bad memory. I can't help it. But some people, I can't remember their names. Sometimes. Not always, but sometimes. And it's kind of the same thing with books. Like with certain Goosebumps books, like Harley Beth from Haunted Mask. Yeah, I know the name. So don't blame Culliver Krantz here. It's not his fault. It's my fault. It's a fault with me. But I do like the main character there. The main character is a boy, and his little sister is hanging out with him. They actually live on a street, and of course their dad recently died, apparently. Their mom is dating a new guy. They live on a street where towards the end of the street there's like a castle-looking house, and it has a little bit of a lake there, too. I think in the backyard. And it's kind of a little bit of a weird geographical layout for this area. I'm not really entirely sure how to picture it in my head, just because, again, it's me. I blur myself out on details a lot of the time. The writing is very, very clear-cut in here. I think it's, again, very much like an R.L. Stine type thing. It has this mix of a little bit of humor mixed with the typical horror that kind of comes into play. The horror part is not as strong here. I'll notice that and say that immediately to you folks. This is not so much a scary book until like the third act. I thought the third act was fantastic. I don't know if I'd call it scary, but I really enjoyed that third act. I thought the revelation of what was actually going on with a certain portion of the book and where the plot was going at one point was actually very fascinating. I really wanted to see what was going to happen with that. I hope that Cursed Coin 2 will follow up more on that at some point, when I get around to it eventually. But for the most part, I really, really enjoyed this read. Again, kind of a slow read. There's pretty much the story focuses on the brother and sister finding a coin that may be cursed out in the, I guess it was the yard, near that castle-looking house. And when you hold on to this thing, you start having like these problems, like sores and stuff will start opening up on your skin, kind of like a leper. And it's kind of hardcore for a kid's book. It's not like it's extremely gruesome or anything like that, but that's some imagery that's going to mess with some kids. You know, it's messed with me a little bit as an adult, but some kids, they're going to have a hard time with that. It was a fun read for the most part, but that cursed coin thing doesn't really play as much on the story as I thought it would, being the title of the book. And I'm not really trying to criticize the book for that, I'm just kind of bringing that up. I was a little surprised by that, a little taken aback by that. It seems like with Goosebumps, you'll have a character that finds some kind of new item or some kind of new thing, and the whole story revolves around that entire center point. Even more so than it does the actual character that's going through this. It mostly revolves around whatever's being involved there, whether it be the cover with the monster on the cover of the book or anything like that. The Cursed Coin takes kind of a back seat at one point, because you start having this shadow man that's showing up everywhere and following the kids around. It's kind of a really tall guy wearing like a black trench coat type thing, wearing a mask. He has a cane. The main character starts seeing him in like grocery stores and stuff like that, and it kind of starts stalking him around. It follows him and his sister Shelly to the house. Oh, Shelly, that was right. That was the sister's name, is Shelly. But it follows them to their house at one point, and they start having encounters with this thing, and it's not as spooky as I'm trying to make it out to be. Like, again, it's... The Shadow Man sounds kind of vague. It sounds like something like from The Ghost Next Door, from the Goosebumps series. It's not like that. It is what it is. It's not as spooky. But again, I kind of chalk that up to first book syndrome. You know, like just, not from Culliver Krantz, he's probably written more books than I have, but I chalk that up more in the sense of being the first book of this series, trying to really get your feet on the ground, understand where you're trying to go and plan things out. You have a lot of things to do on a first book of a series, you know, so I get it, Culliver. I really like the direction this is going, and like I said, the third act of the book, which really changed things up a little bit with a certain reveal about a character, and then kind of where the story went towards the finale was really kind of surprising to me. I was kind of genuinely shocked with some of the creepy stuff. There's a picture on the back of the book I'm not going to show you. I hope I haven't shown it to you already by accident, but there's a picture on the back of the book that kind of gives away what I'm talking about. But again, I hope Cursed Coin 2 will follow up a lot more on that, because it's a very fascinating, interesting little idea that I've never seen done in anything. Movies, books, I'm a big fan of 50s horror and stuff. I've never seen anything done with what they're doing towards the end of this book and what the kids are witnessing towards the end of this book with a certain experiment that's going on. I loved that part. I'll tell you that straightforward. I thought the third act was fantastic in that regard. It kind of seems like not so much the ending, but the third act feels a little bit faster than the rest of the book. I don't know if it's because I was reading it faster because I got way more into the book at that point, or whether it was a pacing issue. I'm not really sure. I don't think it was a pacing issue, because it seems like everything was pretty continuously kind of well-paced for what it was doing as a book. I just recommend it mainly because of the ending. The ending saved this book for me. I was into it, kind of in the admiration of it being kind of charming, like a Goosebumps throwback retro type thing, but it kind of grew out of that as I read the book more, and I really dug that, and I recommend it. If you guys haven't read Frightvision, I would totally say, like, yeah, check out the first book. You don't have to start from the first book. If you think that there's another book in the series you might like more, you can go there. Apparently, in this book, there are references, especially in the third act, of what some of the other books are. Like, the next book is called Picture Day, I believe. There's references for things that are happening to characters in that book and whatnot that are kind of shown a little bit here. So they don't really tie together, but they kind of do. They have little references to things from what I can tell. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with the rest of the series. I'm really curious to see what Culliver and his co-writers are going to be able to do with this. It has a really cool idea going on about having a little bit of a moment dropped into the Cursed Coin 1 and 2, and then stories after that following kind of have their own little thing going on. But I also like standalone books. I don't like the Horrorland series from Goosebumps, where you have to read every single book in order to be able to enjoy that last 40 pages of each book that all tie in together. I don't like that. I like standalone horror books and stuff like Scary Stories Tell in the Dark, where it's like a horror short story compilation and all that. I prefer that kind of thing. I prefer Goosebumps, where pretty much all of the books stand alone by themselves. You can read them out of order. Doesn't matter. This is like that. So if you prefer that, you'll enjoy this a lot, I think. Frightvision Book 1, The Cursed Coin, it wasn't everything that I wanted it to be, but it was certainly good. I enjoyed it. I liked it a lot. I think the third act is the best part. Really. It really is. So if you can manage to kind of work your way through a lot of this book to get to that third act, I think you'll appreciate this a lot more than you thought you would. I think you'll enjoy it a lot more than you thought you would if you weren't enjoying it up to that point. But like I said, the last couple of books apparently have been a little bit longer. They're like 160 pages. I don't know if that last 30 pages are like the previews for the next book coming after Cursed Coin 2, for example, is the newest book. Whatever the next book after that's supposed to be. I guess the last 30 pages or so might be pages from the next book, because they do that. At the end of this book, they also have that Goosebumps thing going on about like the next book. They have a couple of pages in the back of here for chapters to show you, which I like that, because it's kind of a cool little kind of dummy test thing if you want to do that and try out a book before you buy the next book. But overall, I really like this. I think Culliver Krantz has a really good idea here, and I think this is something that could be very admirable, something that could be a really cool throwback retro thing to people who are fans of Goosebumps who watch my channel and like things like Goosebumps. It has that same kind of tone. Not exactly that R.L. Stine's able to write, but it's similar. It's familiar enough where I can say that I like it, and I think it works. So I recommend it in that regard. Frightvision, book number 1, The Cursed Coin. What did you think about it, guys? Have you read this? Have you bought it? It seems like the sales are doing pretty well on this to be an independent published book. It kind of surprised me by how much you see people talking about this a little bit. Especially on Facebook. A lot of people I talk to in Goosebumps groups talk about this. I remember not too long ago I was looking at Amazon, probably 6 or so months ago when I got this book, or the book series up to this point, and I remember I was looking around and I saw Frightvision pop up in my recommendations for things on Amazon. I was kind of surprised by that. I'd never heard of these books, and I'm glad I picked them up so far. This first book was a good testament to what I think I might be getting into with this series. I'm hoping for even better, because I think Culliver has the great potential to do something really good here. Maybe even his co-writers too, judging by the next books. But anyway, what are your thoughts on The Cursed Coin? Put your thoughts in comments down below, guys. I would love to hear what you have to say about the book. If I had to rate Frightvision Book 1, The Cursed Coin, on a 5-star basis, I would probably give this like a 3 out of 5 stars. But it's kind of like it's a good 3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 is a good, positive rating in my opinion. It's not excellent, but it's good. I recommend it. And again, it's basically, I think the third act saved the book for me. I know that probably sounds kind of like an insult a little bit, but slow reads are hard to take care of and to really delve into, in my opinion, because I'm just that kind of reader. I'm very sporadic. I don't really like to just sit through slow books. There was enough happening here to keep me interested and keep me wanting to finish the book, but the third act is really where it took off for me, once again. I just wanted to keep re-emphasizing that, because I don't want anybody to miss that point. This is worth sitting through. But anyway, what are your thoughts? Put them down below if you have read Frightvision. I recommend it. You can get the books out of order. Like I said, Zach Baby TV was somebody else who did a video on these. He didn't read them yet at the point, but he did get them in the mail from this particular writer. I think Culliver's got some potential here. I'm really excited to see what's going to happen with this. It'd be cool if we got like a Frightvision TV show or something at some point. Anyway, thank you guys. May the Lord Jesus Christ bless you guys today, and goodbye.